Can you hear me through your computer, or maybe not? Do you see anybody else waiting in the waiting room? It's 8 o'clock. Where's my share screen? Oh, you got to make me co-host. I can see waiting room. Joyce Miller. Chris's wife. Yeah. Yeah. 6 people waiting now. Good morning, everyone. You might be able to hear me, but I might not be able to hear you. We're going to unmute the board members, but just can you all hear me? If you can, just sort of wave. Can everybody hear me? All right, good. Well, as you might know, there was what's called a Zoom bomb incident with our planning commission. So today we've learned some things from the Zoom on how to try to protect ourselves from that. Most people will be muted for the time being, but if you need to speak and raise your hand, we'll unmute each person individually. And if there was a situation where somebody did enter the room and start Zoom bombing, Ashley, who's co-hosting with me, will shut the meeting down. At that point, just turn right back around and push the link that you did to get into this program, and we'll start up again. So just some precautions that we're taking to make that incident not happen again. So. Let's get to, where's my share the screen? How do I share my screen here? Bear with me while I try to share my screen. I don't see it. There we all are. It's not letting me share my screen, actually. You see it? Some people I can hear. You see it? See this?
Make this new.
Oh, here we go. Thank you. I did. Can everybody see the agenda?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we'll get started. This is the DDA meeting, a May 13th meeting of the Downtown Development Authority of the City of Adrian. And I miss all of you. It's been a crazy time. I'm sorry we didn't have a meeting last month. I really, with my position in my company, there was quite a bit of activity in the stock market that you might have seen that caused me to put a lot of attention on my clients. So I appreciate everyone being patient as we walk through that. Especially at that time, we weren't sure. I knew the commission actually got on top of things. Angie, I know you guys were able to pull it off. So I did have a little bit of a delay of me getting on the learning curve, and I was a bit busy. So thank you for your patience. So I called the meeting to order. You have roll call. Meredith, are you taking minutes, and can you have them on mute, Meredith? Yeah. All right, she's got it. And can you see who's all here as board members?
I can, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. And also, I have in front of you, if you're seeing this, I want to make sure you're seeing it. These are the minutes right here, share from our previous meeting. And actually, we just tried to put this together. Ashley had taken notes in the last meeting, so we sort of put it together in the same sort of format. So if you've all had a chance to read these, I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve as presented with one amendment. It has myself as chair of the parking committee. It's Chip Moore.
Chip Moore. All right, Ashley will make that correction. Any others? All right, there's been a motion. Can I get support?
Support.
Don't be shy. All right, we've had a motion and support of the minutes to be accepted. Any further discussion? Who's trying to speak? Are you, Diane, are you trying to mute? Are you trying to speak? Can you see her?
I can see her, but I can't hear her. We can't hear you, Diane.
And you got Margaret muted. Margaret's muted. All right. Did you have Diane unmuted? Diane, you're unmuted. Can we hear? Are you speaking?
Have I been unmuted?
Yes, you have, Margaret.
Thank you.
Still can't hear Diane, though.
All right.
I wonder if she has a mic or.
Another thing you can do, Dusty, is they can go up to the more and you can use the hand raise feature. I've had to do that on really large Zoom calls that I've been on.
You know what? I'm going to have you unmute everyone. It's going to be dysfunctional if we do this. You did? Okay. So is Diane speaking? Hi, Diane.
Diane, you might have to call in so you have audio through your phone and video through your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mark here. I had just tried dial in because I wasn't sure if I was getting through, and it wouldn't accept the meeting numbers for your information. I may have been dial in
Through your phone? You did the dial in?
Yeah, I got into the service, but the meeting number didn't work. It wouldn't take it. Just so you know.
Excellent.
It worked for me, though.
Yeah,
It
for
did?
me. Yep.
Yeah, we're still not hearing Diane.
So Dusty, right now you have a motion and support on acceptance of the minutes. Is that correct? Is that where we are?
It is.
I think, yeah, Diane wasn't at the last meeting, so I think we need to amend the minutes
that's
to
what
remove
you're
her presence in her report.
All right. Adjust the minutes one more time. Diane was not present.
Diane, you might have to call in to get audio. There's a phone number on that public notice.
Diane wants to call me on the phone. I would be happy to speak for her if that's of any use.
Or you could put her on speaker and we could hear her
Sure.
through you.
That would be wonderful so that she's heard.
All right, see, here's the numbers over here and meeting ID. So if you want to try to go forward with that.
Sure. Is everybody else present?
We're missing Jerry.
Mary's coming in right now through the waiting room. She just arrived.
Okay.
Anybody else?
We have
We don't
18
have-
in this meeting.
We don't have Dave either, do we?
I didn't see him.
Like your cat, Spencer.
No, Dave's not on here either.
Okay. All right. So we had a motion of support. Did we vote yet? No, we don't believe we have. For the minutes, we've made 2 adjustments. All those in favor of accepting the minutes indicate by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, the same? Okay. Now, I just left this agenda as the way it was pretty much last meeting because we just really need to reset, I think, and talk about where we're at with each committee and see what we can do going forward. I also want to just sort of hear from everybody what they're hearing from downtown businesses, what we might do as a DDA to help, and see if there's some opportunities for us to have an impact, a positive impact on our downtown. So with that said, I'll just move forward. And I know probably Margaret and Diane, you were working on the bylaws, and then I'll talk about the DDA board member opening. Any work on the bylaws, or we're still just where we were?
I don't know if Diane has audio at this point, but I could tell you when we last talked about them, as we talk about moving into Main Street will have their own set of bylaws. So at that point, I think our position was to maintain status quo till that determination is factored more aggressively, because we would be adopting that set of bylaws, or at least factoring it in for an establishment of a consolidated bylaw package. So quite frankly, not a lot of movement on the front there, because we would be adopting a vision of theirs and ours. And I would entertain any questions or thoughts about that. But that's where we're at.
Excellent. I think that seems appropriate. Any further discussion on that?
Diane's the leadership there, so I hope I'm not misrepresenting her sense about that, but that's where I'm at.
Got it. Well, thank you, and we'll make some progress on that, and we'll discuss Main Street here in a moment. Any questions for Margaret on that? Excellent. So as you remember, we have a board opening that we were looking to do some interviews with. We had 2 candidates that I have not interviewed, nor has the committee interviewed, the organizational committee interviewed. It was Emily Rebar and Deborah Loveland that's down. So I plan to schedule those interviews even via Zoom right now for the next meeting. So for those of you on the organizational committee, I'll ask you to be a part of that, and we'll just do a Zoom interview with each of them, and then we'll make our recommendation to the board. If that sounds good. All right. All right, Brad, you're there. I can see you. Anything in Finance Committee needs to be discussed?
I don't think so. I actually don't have the latest one for the last month, but I did get the one previous to that one, what I would have brought to the last meeting. But I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary or anything. We're basically where we were the last meeting.
Gotcha. All right, thank you, Brad. And then Parking Committee. Chip or Mark?
Yeah, we haven't met during this course of the shutdown, so I can email Mark and Jerry about the way signs. I know we're looking at getting signs around the country and get ideas, so we're still pursuing that.
Excellent. And Mark, that's just the same information on the charging station. We're going to be doing that in sometime maybe this summer, July, August.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I had a contact in with Matt Tomaszowski to see if there was any new information. And so far, no response. I know the city's going through a lot of budget discussions, et cetera. So I'm not sure if any of that would be impacted, but I don't have anything new to report other than the original install date was sometime this summer.
Excellent. Any questions for the Parking Committee? All right, thank you both, and we'll just keep working forward on both of those. I know it's a little bit different environment to try to pull these things off, but I think things will loosen up over the next 30 days. All right,
Dustin,
Chair. Yes, go ahead.
I will go through, we just approved our budget. I will go through and look, because that's one thing, I mean, it's a very large document, so I wasn't specifically looking for that. I will go through and look and see what it says about that, and I'll let everyone know via email.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Jerry, you're there. I'll let you in. Anything new on beautification branding committee or the Adrian for the seasons?
No, we did not meet. I do want to touch base with the city because it seems like the pots are probably just about getting ready to be put out now that perhaps the last threat of freezing is over. So I don't know if they need any help or volunteers for that. If they do, I don't think they do, but if they do, I'll let this group know.
Excellent. There's Michael Orlando. All right. Well, I do believe that this committee and the Agent for the Seasons and something that we can do hands-on, if there is anything more we can think of to beautify the downtown in such a way during this period of time, I think it would have big impacts. So, I'd be glad to get the pots out, or if there's anything we can do to help push that along, it'd be great to make the downtown look really good right now.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Any discussion on beautification? Excellent. All right. Promotion Events Committee, Diane, still no audio, I don't think, but Dave is not going to be here for this meeting. He has short some staff. He sent me a text last night at like 11 p.m. So I'm going to guess the cornhole tournament is sort of limbo right now and really wouldn't come about until the fall, September, I'm thinking. So I have not gotten an update from him. Does anybody else speak to him about it? Brad or anybody?
We asked Dave about the status of the Brews and Blues, and they're going to decide sometime by June 1st whether or not they're going to run that event, just for your information.
Thank you for that. All right, so I'm sure that'll circle back around. This is just going to be a quick meeting, it appears, because not a lot of progress during this time. So.
Well, wait a minute.
Sure.
I haven't seen people for a really long time. I don't want
Okay, let me slow down.
Nobody go away yet. I want everybody to stay right there. I'm counting on at least till noon.
I gotcha.
Don't go anywhere. Okay, all right, you can go. All right. I've been talking to myself for about 2 months now. It's all right.
So you start talking to the furniture and stuff, that's when you start to work.
I will be calling you all now that I know that you're all well. It's all right. It's all right. I'll be okay.
Excellent. So Main Street, we were working on a communication plan. I'll start firing that back up and sending information to each of you about what we're trying to do is get that brochure developed so that we can go out and start talking about raising funds, not only to have impact, but to also, we need to keep that focus on a Main Street director. It is a critical component of the overall process as we start to make application, which will begin in October and November with the hopes that we could next spring make presentation to the board at the state level and see if we have everything we need to become a Main Street select. So I will continue that work. I know that Dave Thomas was doing some work with me, and then I think Emily Rebar, if she works with us, they've offered at their organization to help us with any brochures, and she does great work there. So I will get that back started, but I do need to do these 2 interviews, and we need to make a selection as well for our board. I did receive some intern applicants, but I'm going to have to reset that again too, because it was we had about 3 from Siena, and I was starting the process with Adrian College, but it was much more comprehensive, if you remember, to go through their process for interns. So I will begin that all again and see how many interns we can take a look at and see what we can do there. So, and then I also had spoken to the city of Howell and got the contact of a girl named Katie, that's really their Main Street director. And we had to put everything on hold, and we were all ready to set a trip up for Howell. So we'll see what happens there, but that's something we'll need to do. At 1 o'clock today, I have there is a Main Street webinar that's hosted by the National Main Street organization. And I'll be participating in that via Zoom, and whatever I can glean from it or get as far as information to pass along, I'll send it to you via email and report again on next meeting and what that was about. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if the program is really good, they usually record those, and if it's really good, you want us to look at it, maybe send us a link if it's worth watching.
Absolutely. All right, any other discussion on Main Street?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, you know, we've been blessed to have a number of different functioning groups in the downtown over the past few years. Some of them have started as a result of local need, others for whatever reason. And I'm, you know, thinking the First Friday group and others. I was wondering how we ought to be looking at, you know, the conditions and having everything under one umbrella. I didn't know where we're at with that. I know we've discussed that several times, and I just wanted to bring it up since we're talking Main Street about how over the next few months we might try to work together to be sure that we're all trying to work a unified plan for the future.
No, I would agree. The Main
Not
Street
everyone at once, please.
I gotcha. The Main Street, or the group that does First Fridays, the committee is pretty strong and has done an excellent job. Jerry and I went and sat at one of their meetings. The big concern is that are we, and without a Main Street director, do we have somebody that can really organize and have control of that First Friday apparatus and be a part of that committee and sort of tie us all in together. I think the same is true of many of the activities that are happening in the downtown as we move forward, town and gown, a number of other things that I think could come under our umbrella as a Main Street organization. But I think the inertia is really to focus in on getting a Main Street director. At that point, I think a lot of these things can be addressed and that person can carry that weight, if you will.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm just trying to wrap this around my head. So if we go to a Main Street format, what's the role of the DDA then? What's our mission going to be? Or are we going to disband the DDA?
No, you don't disband the DDA. The DDA stays in place, and it's usually called Main Street / DDA. You see it in many communities when the DDA actually accepts the Main Street philosophy and approach. So the TIF stays in place, the millage stays in place. So those funding, that's what you don't want to lose, and that's why we extended the TIF for 5 years, and we got to get back to work on that so we can extend it 30 years. But we don't want to lose that. That's our funding mechanism. So you really don't change the DDA structure, if you will.
Okay, no, I was curious. I was just curious.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. So, yeah, and again, we haven't even approached the commission and discussed it. I know that they've heard things and the like, so I really just sort of keeping this with us to say, we have to get our fundraising apparatus in place so that we can show that 1/3 of our budget's coming from fundraising. We need to know that that other third is coming from, you know, our own cash flows and our own, you know, the TIF and the millage. And then there'll be a discussion as to how we can get extra funding from that matter. But I think we have to illustrate that we have the capacity to fundraise on an annual basis, that we can create some events that really produce some income for us. And so again, it's back to that focus, just sort of resetting it. Any
Well, Mr.
questions?
Chair, yeah, I got a question for you. Since government has picked essential to non-essential workers, businesses, whatever, I'm not sure what kind of reception we're going to get about having fundraisers during this time period. I hope this opens up, but I think that's a question that we should ask ourselves. We're in uncharted territories of what our government's done to the private sector, and we should have a discussion about that.
Does anybody have comment in regards to that?
It's going to be a new world when we come out of this, so I think we'll just have to deal with what happens as it comes.
And that certainly might be part of it. It's hard to say at this juncture, but I think that we're going to find we face a lot of new questions as we come out of this that are yet undefined or unanticipated, but that's probably or very likely one of them.
Yeah, I mean, again, how do you make plans under this condition as far as the fundraiser? I agree with you, Chip. It's very difficult, but I think in 30 days we'll have a little bit more clarity, and in 60 days we should have a little bit more clarity. So I'm glad we're meeting, but it'll be important. The next meeting, I think we'll have a lot more information. But I probably said that 30 days ago too. It doesn't seem to have lightened up a little at all. So. But yeah, having public fundraisers, bringing everybody together, that's going to be a challenge. And furthermore, though, I started thinking about, does the city value its downtown, and would they value the work of the DDA and the Main Street? And as we come back into this world, I think there's going to be a lot of giving to try to strengthen, and we're all going to work together. So I think we have to have our value proposition and be ready, because at the end of the day, if we really do this right and we build the brochures and we build the compelling message to all of our community and our stakeholders, it won't be just a fundraiser. There will be people making commitments to us for the long term. And that's the real vision, is that, hey, can you give us $1,000 a year for 3 years to make our commitment to Main Street? Can you give us 500 and start hitting the public in that fashion as well? But again, we've got a lot of communication plan work to get done before we can even get to that ask stage. Any other questions on that? So I really don't have, I've said a lot of comments already on this, but I do appreciate all of you being at this meeting. It is a challenging time for all of us, obviously, and the thing I worry about the most is our restaurants and some of those types of businesses that have really been a place where we all socialized and all been a part of our lives so long. When I think about the PPP program that came into play, it didn't really help the restaurants at all. When you looked at the type of the average salary that was being made by the workers, it was better for the employer to put them on unemployment so that they could get the extra money and get the better funding. And so they were able to hit that bucket and get that type of funding to support them. On the other side of that, they shut everything down, set anybody home. So the overhead is a bit lower, or quite a bit lower than what it was. But anybody that was holding mortgages and things like that, it's been a tough time for all of them. And getting them back up and running is going to be somewhat of a challenge. And I think we have to be some of the wind behind their sails as DDA and as our community. So I wanted to open that discussion up and see what your guys' thoughts are there and see if we can come up with some creative ideas over the next 30 days or so. Jim, is Jim muted? Are you muted yourself, or is it us muting you? It's us. Can you unmute him? Hey, oops. Did you do it? Let me see if I can. Sorry, Jim. Still learning. Why isn't it letting me unmute him? All right. We're gonna take a risk. We just unmuted everyone.
Are you there now?
Yeah, there you are, Jim.
Okay. I just want to, Dusty, thanks for holding the meeting, and remind everyone that, we have a number of programs. I took Randy Agala off of education and put him on with Catherine Moore, our attorney, interpreting all of the complicated programs that are there. As you know, the Small Business Relief Fund that the state of Michigan put out, Adrian got 8 of the 20 grants that went out that were there to help small businesses. So we're happy about that. It's really, when we put out the call for applicants for that, it was really eye-opening, because we had 151 applications for a tune of $4.5 million.
Wow.
Here just in Lenawee County. So, we were happy to get out, as you know, the 20 grants were just cash grants that were given to help companies just survive a little bit longer trying to hold on. But there are a lot of other programs, and we see other programs coming out on a regular basis. So on our webpage, there's a page there that says COVID-19, and any problem anybody has navigating those, we have people available immediately to help walk through those processes. So we just want to do everything we can do to try to protect every business that we can in Lenawee County.
So Jim, have you found that there were some opportunities for, I'm just being very specific, with restaurants? Has there been discussion there, and what are the best opportunities for them?
Well, that's one of them that really didn't. We did issue a couple grants to a couple restaurants, but besides the payroll protection grant and some other ones, Randy Yagala is really spearheading those things. So if there's any opportunity there, I'll have Randy take a look at that, and I'll send you an email and you can get it out to your people. But there's just so many of them, I just don't know which ones qualify for whatever.
Excellent. Any other discussion on that? Anybody else have any ideas or thoughts?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mark, just want to check in. The Armory is in the same boat as the restaurants, and we're basically closed down until further notice, and we're hoping sometime in July or August that we'd be able to have some group meetings. We're working on our plan for social distancing, and we're planning on being available to groups to meet following social distancing guidelines. We have a significant amount of open space to be able to do that in the drill room. And so at some point, be it a DDA meeting or a city commission meeting or what have you, when it does come time to get back together and people want to meet and see each other instead of Zoom, we certainly are available to have some of those meetings. So I want to put that out there. Also, just to follow up on what you said, the Image Center, has the fitness center and the tanning salon, and we've been shut down for a while, and we've looked at the PPP program, and again have the same problem as you discussed. We've actually were approved in the second round of the PPP, but we are probably going to turn it down because we're not able to take advantage of it, bringing people back to work and being closed. So we're really hoping that they make some changes in that, and would encourage anyone who has any influence with our politicians. There is a bill in the Senate right now to amend the PPP program to resolve some of the issues that you just brought up. And it would be really wonderful if that could be altered. But again, the problem is they funded it and made the rules, and many of us can't take any advantage of the program, even though it looks like it's pretty good. So it's really disappointing that even though it needed to happen quickly, it wasn't well designed.
Yeah, and again, my mind was focused on restaurants, but you're a perfect example as well with the Armory, and there's probably a lot of those types of businesses that are really having a hard time not being able to match up with the unemployment.
I also talked to some restaurateurs that have said this, 25% is not going to work for them also, that they are not going to open at the 25% rate. It's too hard for them to do that. So there's some hardship built into some of the opening rules. I don't know if they'll go for the 50%, but there are just some of the rules just are not going to work for them. So you'll see some, problems along the way, and hopefully they'll get ironed out just the same way that Mark is talking about.
Thank you for those comments. Yes, Don.
Dusty, can you hear me okay?
We can, yes.
So, as you know, I love to frequent our downtown bars and restaurants as much as anybody. But we have retail outlets that are, single proprietors.
Right.
I have 2 commercial tenants in our 2 buildings. They are really, really, really struggling. They're pulling out all the stops on internet sales, Facebook Live programs. we've got to get them open. And I mean, I'm as wary of this virus as everybody else. But we have got to get our governor to allow us to put together a plan to safely reopen. I know, I understand the 25% rule with the restaurants. I've talked to a couple and they say they can't make it work at that. But I think our retail businesses can. By having very limited people coming in, face mask, whatever we have to do, we just really need to focus on all of our downtown businesses. Thank you.
Jerry needs to be unmuted. Got it.
I think someone got me up. Thank you.
Yep.
So I know you probably all are aware of my feelings about this, that the Croswell is really integral to the success of downtown as we bring in a large number of people on a regular basis. And right now, because the Croswell theaters are being grouped with large venues, sporting events, and that kind of thing, we are working at the possibility of producing a show in August or September and how we would address social distancing. But according to the latest from the governor last week, we would be in phase 5 or 6 in terms of reopening, which means post vaccine availability. So, I mean, it's pretty scary for the Croswell. I don't know that we can last that long. But I guess my point in saying all that is just, I want everyone to know that the Croswell staff is working. We're working every day, figuring out programming that could happen in the event that we can't have people in the building, or could we have people in Farber's and utilize our first floor in some way that not including the auditorium, because we know for us, we need to have people in our building, but we also know the strength of a strong Croswell for the viability of the downtown. So we are exploring all kinds of options. Could we be doing shows in parking lots with people sitting in chairs? Could we we are looking at a lot of different programming options. So may need some real strong cooperation from the city on perhaps, relaxing some guidelines and, permitting and those kinds of things as we move forward, because things may have to happen on a kind of a turn of a dime once some openings are available. So, we're chugging away without a real knowledge of what is going to happen. Like all of you are, like all of us are.
Go ahead.
Dusty, one thing too is she was just discussing the Michigan Safe Start Plan, and I've been like pouring over that like crazy. If you don't have access to that, I can send it to you. But there is a county town hall meeting on Friday at 1 o'clock that Lenawee County is putting out, and they're going to be discussing that and the phases and how it affects our county. And they're really kind of the authorities in all of this when it pertains to us locally, because they have a health department. So when you have a pandemic, they're the ones kind of in control of all of this. But I would encourage anybody and everybody to go to that. I can send you the link for that Zoom meeting if you want, but it also had attached to that invite for the town hall meeting, and it's open to all the entire public, but it also had the Safe Start Plan. And it is scary, though. I was really pouring through it the last couple of days, because I'm also on a task force at Siena Heights University of what we're going to look like. And I'm on one of the task force there. And
that's right.
I really thought that we were going to be opening restaurants a little sooner until you really dig into that Safe Start Plan and retail and the way that it's going to look. And I mean, I have been personally driving our all of our state, any politician that I can get a hold of, I'm driving them crazy. I'm calling them, I'm emailing them. I have been talking to them. I will tell you that any politician that has any kind of influence nationally in the state that's in our area, they are fighting for us. They're on the same thought process as we are all discussing. They want to see us open. They said this is going to be too detrimental to us. I mean, I know there are people really fighting for us on the political level, and we just need to keep really telling them how we feel and expressing that and our concerns, and just really keep reiterating that to them.
Angie or Jim Van Doren, are either of you aware, in that Safe Start program, Lenawee is part of the region that includes Hillsdale and Jackson counties
Yes.
only. Is there any conversation happening cross-county to, you know, really push as that region to be open sooner?
Yeah, we've been involved with legislative people, both Brana and Dale Zorn. And there's a little disconnect in Lansing, and that's part of the problem is you know, the people that are here supporting us and know what the problems are. Unfortunately, we have a governor that's not listening.
Yep.
So is there anything DDA could do, Jim, do you think? Maybe draft a letter or anything of support or our position? And as this group, what is our position? Should we apply that type of pressure? I think we should.
Yeah, and Dusty, make sure they all know it's got to go to the governor. I mean, we're in touch with Dale, we're in touch with Rana, and we're in touch with all of those people. And unfortunately, they're getting, it's like preaching to the choir, you know? I mean, we've got to get to the governor herself. So when they write, make sure that those letters go directly to the governor, or those emails or those calls.
Although I will tell you, I've literally either gotten no response, or I've gotten just a blanket response like, thank you for your consideration. I've literally gotten almost no response. I've been doing it all the time. And even on my end, I'm still doing it. I'm not going to give up, but I'm not getting any response at all from the governor's office at all.
It's a little bit complicated, but there is such a, and there are still private couriers with directives to the governor, with directive to take this to the governor. And sometimes that has been effective. She gets
How do you get access to that, Margaret?
Well, they're available through Lansing. I'm trying to think what we went through, but I'll have to look that up. I can get that back to Jerry, but we actually retain the service of a courier to hand deliver to the governor. And sometimes they'll have to be accompanied to her office, but they're retained to hand to the governor. And they were in line to hand to the governor.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that information.
And I think that would be great. I would too. And I think it'd be great if there was a lot of us, including me, including any business owner, including just concerned citizens, and we had a whole, you know, pack to give to the governor at the same time, would even be more effective.
Well, it doesn't matter. You hand to the governor.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mark.
I just want to follow up on this theme. I think in the large picture, we as a community and as the DDA need to decide if we want to be leaders or followers. And at some point, do we want to ask for permission or forgiveness? And I believe we need to be aggressive, assertive, and ask for forgiveness if these guidelines are so onerous that they take us down as a community. We need to have the Croswell up and running as soon as possible, legitimately. And I'm not in favor of breaking the law. I want to save lives. But if we wait for permission always, if we're not advocating to get our community open in a responsible manner, we are not doing our job as leaders of the community. And I'm challenging all of us that we need to take that position and work toward that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Chip?
I have a question following on what Mark's just said, because in time of crisis, leadership stands out. Right now, we have a constitutional crisis created by our governor not following the state law of 1976. We, the people, elected our representative to represent us. She's acting alone violation of the 1976 law that was passed to complement the 1945 law, that you have to have a legislature approval. Now, I've read recently of a barber in Owasso that's opened up. The judge has supported him because the governor's overstepped her boundaries. Now, I understand, I'm like everybody else. I want to live in a healthy environment. I don't want to kill anybody. But for my experience, I have a lot of relatives that live in Sweden. My mom was the only one born in this country. All my other relatives were born in Sweden. I got a lot of relatives in Sweden. So I've been following a lot what's been going on in Sweden. They've not shut down their schools. The middle schools and elementary schools are open. They're practicing distancing. Their death rates are very low considering the situation they're heard. And the challenge is, if we want to become a sanctuary business area, that's why I think we want to put us on a map and show about leadership. We need to challenge the governor.
I just want to remind everyone that it's not just the fact of the Croswell or any of these businesses being open. It's will people actually attend? I don't foresee 500 people coming into the Croswell feeling confident and safe for themselves, no matter what things we put in place to help ensure that safety. I do not think the community is going to be comfortable. So
good point, Jerry.
We can stake our, put our flag in the ground or whatever, and that's fine. But it's a much larger issue than just saying doors are open.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, the question is, the longer that we stay out, the devastation. This is going to be worse than 2008, 2009. This is going to be like the Depression. There'll be a lot of businesses that will never open again. Once businesses do open, the employment will never get back for a while to what it was pre this. And you look at what our government's doing to not realizing the individual businesses. They can open up if they want to say that you can go to a Westco or you can go to a Costco, Walmart, all these large businesses and operate, but yet a small business can't do the same practice of doing social distancing. I mean, it's amazing what's open, what's considered essential in this governor's order, and she's not even following CDC protocol. So I'm just shocked by. That's all I want to say.
Thank you for your comments, Chip. So in my business, I have to communicate with my clients on a consistent basis, and I found myself challenged to not sound or be negative. It's very difficult in this environment to not be negative, but as you can watch, the stock market has recovered tremendously. I don't know if it will stay this way, but I have to give some optimism to the situation. We are a very creative society and creative people, and I know it seems very grim right now at this point in time because of the conflict that's happening, not only with our governor, but in the minds of so many people. Fear is just rampant all over the place. When I look at my own family, we have people working in the prison that are our family members, and it's scary to even be near them. That's the way your brain starts to work. You become very intimidated by the social aspects of our life. But I am a big believer in all of us coming up with creative ideas. When I think of Jerry thinking of a parking lot show, those are the type of ideas that we have to start coming up with as a group, as individual business owners. We're going to have to be something different than we've ever been before. I don't know where those ideas are going to come from, but I'm a big believer that we are all in this together throughout the country. There's other states that are flourishing a little bit better than us because of their stance, but our stance today, while it's very restrictive, I still believe we have very creative skills as humans and as people and citizens in the community. I think as a DDA, we'll try to do whatever we can to help with applying the pressure at Lansing. But I really would like to get away from the thought that this is going to be a depression or this is going to be a gloom and doom ending to all of us, because I don't believe that. I don't believe it for a second. We will be creative. We will come up with ideas to try to survive as many people as we can. There are people that are very scared and have very, very low margins for this situation, and we are going to see some suffering. But I again want to try to avoid, even with my clients, this feeling that this is a doomsday situation, because I don't believe that to be so. It seems that way at the moment, but I do think, and again, it's my opinion, 30 and 60 days from now, things are going to be quite different. And the reason I believe that is as you get positive outcomes throughout our country and you see other things working, the pressure will then automatically be laid on our governor as we see these types of successes and the like. The numbers, I get to sit here and watch the coronavirus John Hopkins map. If you do that, don't do it too long because it's very silly. But as we watch those types of things, it's very confusing to me. Is it the number of tests increasing that's showing the increasing? Or are we on the backside of this or where we're at? And it's very difficult to get the information of where we stand in this process. So again, I will urge all of us and challenge all of us to help with the creativity for one another and work together. And I do agree. I might have mentioned restaurants and didn't mean to make it singular. It was just to start that point of discussion. But as you can see in this discussion, it's affecting a lot more than restaurants. There's a lot of businesses that are at risk. So the next 30 days as we work through this, any creative ideas, anything you can do to share with one another, I think is probably welcome.
Well said, Dusty. Thank you.
It's tough, but I do believe. I also believe that when you take a whole world and focus them on one problem, they'll solve it. So I'm a believer.
Dusty, I did get a email back. I'm gonna read it really fast. Is that okay? About the charging station?
Sure.
Nathan Bird got back to me. I had emailed a couple people because I was looking through the budget while we were on this call, and I couldn't find it. And he said, I can't find it really looking very fast either, but I know it's in there. He said it was planned for this fiscal year, so sometime between May and June, and he knows that nothing was cut related to this in the 2021 budget. He's going to send me more info when he gets it, but he said it was listed on this fiscal year, and that, but he knows they did not cut anything related in the 2021 budget related to it. So good news on that.
Yeah.
Good. That's good.
And our budget for this year's is not being affected at all by, there were no budget cuts at this point yet at all for the one we're currently in. So.
All right. Thank you for that.
Also, I'd like to do a little shout out to Jerry Ryder. She is the Outstanding Alumni Award winner for Siena Heights University.
All right.
Congratulations, Jerry.
Congratulations, Jerry. Congratulations.
Well deserved. Well earned.
Absolutely. Well deserved. Way to go, Jerry. How do you do that, Greg Elliott, with a little thumbs up? That's neat.
Reactions.
Oh, I see. Reactions.
I forgot to turn my thumb a color other than yellow, though.
She is truly a saint. We're proud of her.
I would like to remain positive and try to keep to this, but did the 20 texts that I got all night long, are they true, Angie? About Nathan? I got 20 texts last night, and it was about Nathan.
I don't think anything's been announced yet, but yes.
Well, I'm going to leave everybody hanging there.
Yeah.
I'll leave everybody hanging there. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Go to
Any other?
County, it was announced there.
What's that? They did.
Go to Livingston County, it was announced there.
That's what it was. Yeah, it'll make it to everybody by lunchtime, so I'm not going to.
Yes, you'll know what we're talking about shortly. Yes, great time to be mayor. Yay.
Hey. Oh, well, another challenge.
That's right. Hey, challenge brings opportunity.
That's right. So any other discussion on that? I really haven't opened up public comment, but I can do that right now. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I just want to say thank you for all those great wishes. I really appreciate it. I was muted, so I was hearing them, but you couldn't hear me say thank you. I appreciate it very much. Yes, and I am a saint for life, Margaret.
I'm proud to have you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any other public comments? All right. Other DDA matters that anybody would like to bring up? Board member comments. Not that we've really sort of went around this anyway.
Thank you, and I'll miss you, but thank you for making my day.
Okay, when I drive by, I'll honk. Okay, Margaret?
Please? Oh, thank you. I'll be in the window. I've been feeding animals like birds and squirrels.
It's funny, I have a squirrel myself that I've been feeding peanuts to. That's how bad it is.
I know it's really bad. I'm sitting there watching them right now.
My son said I've turned into the crazy bird lady because I just feed birds constantly and watch them.
Me too. Me too.
It's a weird time. Woo.
Yeah. That's
All right. So I
Thank
challenge everybody to let's brush up again. I'll send you information on Main Street. Let's get our focus back to where it was as far as Main Street Director and moving into that Main Street program. Let's look at one another and see what we can do to help each other. I will I'll create a letter and I'll forward it to everyone that from our viewpoint as a DDA so that we can send that up to the governor. And I'll run it by everyone before we do that. And you can make suggestions about what would be said. So everybody has their specialty on this. I'll get those interviews done so that we can place a DDA member to fill that open spot. I'll get some interviews done with some interns, see if we can get an intern going. It may be a little difficult right now for that part of it, but I do think we can Zoom interview the other two and we'll get that started. Beyond that, stay positive. It's that we are going to get through this, and we are very creative people, and we are going to make this better, and everybody is going to survive, and it's going to be different, but we're going to survive, and it's going to be good.
Thanks, Dusty.
Thank you, Dusty.
Thank you.
All right. Have
Thank
a
you
wonderful
all.
day, and I'll be in touch soon.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.